Hi everybody, I'm back. And I was thinking about that I wanted to tell a story because I have a lot of stories and I think it'd be beneficial for other people to hear them. There's a lot of lessons to be learned from most of them. So I was thinking about all of my experiences living in Africa, living in everywhere I've lived here, and all the experiences I've had here and there and everywhere. And I just settled on this one that I was not even contemplating talking about, but I thought it was something that I've always wanted to share. And when it happened, I knew that I wanted to change something because it made me very, very frustrated. Nothing really makes me frustrated in this world, and that really did. One thing gets to me. I'm not an angry person. I never feel anger, really. I think there's other ways to go about it, and naturally I just don't. So I was surprised when this actually was something I felt frustrated about deeply. So when I was 16, I ran away from home, and it was because I was in a really, really horrible living situation at home, and I felt that if I didn't run away, something bad would happen. And long story short, I was caught, and separate note, something bad did happen. So I'm not saying it's good or bad that I was caught or that I ran away. I think I was very much in a stable sense of mind when I ran away, and that's something that my mom always told every doctor, was that I was having some kind of episode when I ran away, which I wasn't. I was trying to survive, and it's funny because what I was fearing would happen did in fact happen when I was sent back. And no hate if you are mentally ill, full support, and this is what this is about. If you're mentally ill, you should get help, and there's absolutely no shame in that. Personally, I went through all of this as somebody who probably didn't need this certain type of care that I was given, because when I was caught, my mom sent me to an inpatient facility for like mental health, like a psych ward. I was sent to a psych ward, and that was years ago, and I still solidly believe I needed help. I didn't need that kind of help, and I did have depression. I had other issues. I still have a lot of issues. I have extreme PTSD and other things, but she was acting like I was crazy for running away, and so I wasn't out of my mind in that way. I was sent there. I was in the emergency room, because that's what happens when you go to a psych ward, is you start off in the emergency room most of the time, and you're in there for anywhere from like 9 to 12 hours, and that seems crazy, and it is a little bit crazy, but you're there, and you have a nurse sitting in with you for the most part, and you're waiting to be kind of processed. And this happened when I was in the emergency room for the 9 to 12 hours. There was another person in there. It was interesting. There was a girl next to me with like a big like piece of metal stuck in her foot. I felt so bad for her because she was like a young girl. She must have been in so much pain, but that was just like normal emergency room stuff, I guess. But across kind of the room from me, there was this guy, and he was around my age. He must have been like 16, maybe, maybe younger, maybe older, but a teenager. And he was clearly going through some kind of real episode. He was absolutely yelling. He was like held by two police officer type people. I think they were because they have, police officers there for anyone going through some kind of psychotic break, or because you're in there with people who want to hurt themselves or want to hurt other people, or just are completely going through some kind of episode of psychosis in whatever way. He was clearly going through a psychotic episode, and he was yelling, being held down by these two big men, and he was yelling that there were like nanobots in his bloodstream and all these crazy, crazy things. And they were trying to inject him because he was trying to run away, and he wasn't trying to hurt them. I could see it clearly. He was across the room, and he wasn't trying to hit them. He was not trying to attack them. He was trying to get away. And they were trying to inject him with, I believe it was some kind of sedative. So he would calm down, fall asleep. I don't really know. I feel so bad. I don't know what happened after that. But either way, he didn't have restraints. They were just restraining him and trying to put him down on the bed and keep him on the bed. And he was trying to get out. He was not fighting. He was not hitting them. He was not attacking them. He wasn't aiming any of his aggression at them. He was just so terrified. You could hear the fear in his voice because he truly believed that they were going to inject him with something to like take over his mind, you know, something going in his blood. And I understand that. Like, I always get a little bit weird about drugs. I'm scared of medications because I'm scared of what they'll do to me. But this was like that to the absolute extreme. And he was terrified that they were going to inject him with nanobots that were going to get into his brain and take over his brain. And it sounds almost like somebody could think that's funny, but that's not funny at all, that he was truly having that in his mind. He was screaming and crying and just trying to get away. And I saw the way that those men handled him. They were borderline violent, which I understand to a degree, because obviously he's not in his right mind and he needs to be sedated or calmed down. Thing is, he needs to calm down, and all they were doing, like, they were just so forceful to the point of, I would almost say they were violent with him. And that is the last thing that that boy needed. And I was watching this entire thing unfold, and I might tear up thinking about it. I cried when I was there watching it. I didn't cry that whole time, and bad things were happening to me. I was in a horrible spot, but I just, seeing the way that those men treated him when he was going through some kind of horrible mental process, and he was terrified, and just hearing that level of terror in his voice and how hard he was trying to escape. And I'm not explaining this well, but it just, the way that those men treated him, they were yelling at him. And later I heard them tell the nurse or the doctor that he hit them or was trying to. And I saw the entire thing. He did not. He was not doing that. And even if he had, like, the way they were talking to him, and it was so long ago I can't remember specifics, but I remember visually what happened, and I'll never forget that. And I knew in that moment I would never forget that, because there was something incredibly wrong with the mental health system, the health system. But no matter what, that boy, because he was a young boy, he was a teenager, he was not an adult. They were saying that if he didn't stop, they were going to charge him with all these, like, you know, assaulting a police officer or whatever. They were saying that if he didn't stop, they were going to do something, like, legal. And it's like, this man does not understand that. Right now he thinks you're trying to kill his brain, you know? He's not in, like, they were trying to threaten him into, you know, laying down and letting them inject him. And it's like, he's not in the mental state to understand that. And he's not in the mental state to understand you hitting him. Nobody is. Don't hit this man. Because I remember that. They were so freaking aggressive and violent. And this boy, he hadn't hurt them. He wasn't trying to hurt them. They were probably scared of him that he would. But he wasn't trying to. And he was just going through so much terror. And they had no empathy. There was an extreme lack of empathy for that boy. And it was to the point I almost got up. Like, I almost wanted to go over there. And I wanted to calm him down, because that's what he needed in that moment. He didn't need them doing that. He needed them talking to him calmly and not yelling at him. Like, that boy needed them to just be gentle or show some kind of hint that they cared. And I felt horrible that I couldn't just go over there. That boy needed a hug, and like obviously I can't just do that, but like I just wanted to go over there and tell him it would be okay and that he just needed to calm down. And I wanted to go over there and tell the freaking policemen, big like official men, I don't know if they were genuine police or just hospital staff, I don't know, I don't remember. They probably were police, so I know there were police there. I just remember the way the men were treating him, who were holding him down, and I wanted to tell them to stop. I needed to go over there and tell them to stop yelling at him and stop threatening him and stop being so violent and aggressive with him. And it's not like they were like beating him up, but they were very much like, I just remember thinking that they were so aggressive and that they were probably hurting him with the way that they were treating him. And I felt empathy for him because I was also a child. I was also in that state of nobody would believe me right now. I could say, I was telling people, I told police, I told the people there, I told therapists. My home situation is not safe for me. I'm lacking basic necessities. And she told them that I was mentally ill. And they believed her because she's the adult, you know? And it's a hard situation because if you're mentally ill, then yeah, you do lie. You might make stuff up. But I wasn't. I was mentally ill. I was depressed. I have diagnoses of complex PTSD and extreme depression. I did back then anyway. I'm not depressed anymore. I was depressed because of my living situation, by the way. Like I said, I'm not saying anything. When I'm defending my own state of mind, I'm not saying there's anything wrong if I had been mentally ill in whatever way. I'm just saying that I wasn't. And I was being framed like I was crazy, and I was being treated like I was crazy, and like I was put on a bunch of drugs for it, antipsychotics, and they tried different ones over and over because my mom almost convinced me that I was crazy and that I needed those things, and I was trying everyone and none of them were working, to the point of one that almost killed me because it increased my heart rate so much. And doctors, they don't care. That's another thing. Like, I had to face a psychiatrist who would make horrible comments to me, like sexual comments, and me and the other people there reported him, and the people who were in charge of the place. This was later on. It wasn't the actual hospital, but it was like an inpatient treatment facility. And we told them, we put in a bunch of official reports that this man, for all of the girls there, was making these comments, and they said that they couldn't find anyone else and they needed a psychiatrist, so we just had to deal with it. And that's not what you tell mentally ill people there. There were very, very ill people there. People who had been through severe sexual trauma, including, and to have to deal with that from that and be treated like that when you report it, that's not okay. I have so many stories about the horribleness of the mental health system, and it's interesting because I wasn't that ill, and so I think that a lot of times people won't take people seriously who have been through it, who are mentally ill, but report on all these bad things that happen. Because it's like, oh, they're crazy, oh, they were in a bad state, they're already in a bad state and they don't want help, and so they're gonna say these things about these people trying to help them. But the thing is, I was fine, and I was very much of sound mind, I think. I know. I became unstable because of the ways that they were treating me to certain points. I was very sad. I developed anxiety from that experience, where I didn't have it before. I don't have it now. I'm not anxious. I developed it there. And there's so much wrong with the mental health system, but and I can take anything they did to me. I care, but I can get over it, but I can't get over what they did and how they treated that boy. And I don't know, this isn't consistent with what I talk about on my channel, but sometimes I think about talking about mental health stuff more because I have so many experiences, and this is just one that I knew would never leave me. I guess it was traumatizing in a kind of way. Not in like, I was scared I was gonna die, but it was something that will never leave my brain. Not like I think about it all the time, but I'll never forget it. And it was a moment where I knew that I wanted to change things. I knew the mental health system was bad. I knew it really was bad, but there's something about that I can't just let alone, you know? And so at the very least, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the way they treated that boy who obviously was not in his right mind whatsoever, but he still deserves common decency. He doesn't deserve violence for that. It's not his fault, you know? And the worst part is, like, I don't know what happened to him. It's not the worst part. It doesn't matter what I think or what I take from it, but I mean, he matters. What happened to him matters, but I don't know what happened to him because I went to the mental psych unit and he never went there. I never saw him again. And I was there for a while. I never saw him again. And I had assumed that if he had schizophrenia, he would end up there, but he didn't. So I don't know what happened with him. And I don't know why he was there in the first place. I don't know what brought him there. I don't know what brought him to the state that he was in. It was clear he probably had schizophrenia or some kind of psychosis-related mental illness. But I don't know. And I don't know how he got to that point. I don't know what set him off or how long he had been like that or what situation, who brought him there. It didn't seem like he had anyone. It really didn't. And I am so sad that I couldn't be there for him because I think that I have a way of like calming people, and for a lot of people in the mental health facilities I was in, I was like a person who could help them, I think. I mean, for a lot of my friends, I'm definitely somebody who's a source of comfort. I have a way that I can talk to somebody very gently. I get comments about that. I have a very gentle voice. I have a good outlook, and I know how to handle people like that because I've been in those situations so often, and I have little bits of it in my own mind that I access to understand what somebody like that needs. And obviously I'm not a professional, and obviously I'm not just going to walk over to the side of the room with these policemen threatening this boy and what they would do to him if he didn't stop trying to escape. They were talking about what they would do. It's like, that's not helping him calm down. I just wished I could go over there and tell them to stop and tell him it would be okay if he just calmed down and talk to him and just ease some of the terror, you know? But I couldn't, and I just had to watch it, and eventually they shut the curtain and I couldn't see it, but I could hear it. I could hear him sobbing and screaming for help. That's the one thing, is he kept crying and screaming for help. And I felt like I should have helped him, but I couldn't. And I think the only way I can help him or anyone like him now is to talk about it, you know? Because it's hard when something is so widespread. Everyone I talk to who's been in the mental health system, they all have stories like this one. And sometimes they're the one that things happen to. And it sucks. And it sucks that it's such a widespread problem that it seems impossible to solve. There's so many other there's so many other problems in the world, but it's one that I'm very passionate about on top of other ones. But I don't know, the least I can do is talk about it. And I really hope that he's okay. I hope that he's gotten help, because the curtains closed and I could hear the screams for help, and I could hear the sobbing, and I could hear the police, the guys, you know, like yelling at him, and I could hear different things that just worried me so much that I couldn't even see what was happening. And then finally he became silent, and I can assume that they sedated him successfully and he fell asleep, but I don't really know. I don't know where he went after that. He could have gone to a different place or something. I don't know, because that was the only place in the county that had beds available, for mental health cases. So I don't know what happened with him, because he'd never showed up in the ward that I was in or in any places afterwards. So I hope he's okay. I don't know his name. I don't even really remember what he looked like very much, besides basic things. He was across the room as well. So I remember what he looked like, but I don't remember if I saw him. I remember what he looked like, but if I saw him again, I don't know if I'd recognize him, especially because it's been so long. But I don't know. I hope I can at least spread awareness of this issue, and I think anyone who knows about mental health stuff knows that this is an issue, but it's hard to talk about it, because if you're the person in it, then people don't believe you, and if you're out of it, it doesn't really concern you. And so it's a weird little situation that I have a unique insight in, I guess. But yeah, that's my first story time. Can't believe I cried my first story time, but for some reason it feels like a weight has been lifted off my chest. Maybe I should do this more often, because I have so many things that affect me and so many things that I carry in my brain, and I never really have anywhere to put them. So, and it's not just things I ruminate on, but it's things that I care about and other people don't know about, and I wish I could, use them for something better, I guess, is what I really want to say. So maybe this will do that. Maybe nobody will see this video, but I don't know. In the meantime, don't hesitate to get help if you do need help. And if you're thinking about taking your own life, it is better to be somewhere safe. Although I would probably advise, I don't know what I would advise, because as much as I hate to say it, I know so many people who were abused in mental health facilities, but I don't want to talk about that because I'm scared that somebody wouldn't get help and then end up taking their life, which anything's better than taking your life, It's not the option to take. Things will get better if you make them better, if you decide for them to be better. Because you know what? What's the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen if you choose to do the things you love? If you need a day off, take a day off, but ultimately don't give up, because I was sad, I was depressed for about 16 years of my life, from being born to, I was a very depressed child. I was suicidal at first grade, I was a very sad child because of the circumstances I was in, until I realized that it was within my own power to escape, and I could find a life, even if it's a small life, even if it's a small life of a lot of work and little moments of happiness. You can still find that happiness, and you can make it worthwhile if you choose to. But either way, if you're thinking about doing something, don't hesitate. Find help, get therapy, find a therapist that works for you. It's a battle to find that, but if you really, really put your effort into it, you can. And yeah. So that's my story time. And I love all of you guys. If you ever need anyone to talk to, because I think that I do have a really good insight on things. I'm not professional, but people do say it helps to talk to me. So always reach out if you need help. I have a comment section, I have an email, which I'll put in the description of the video. Obviously, I might take a little bit to answer, but I will try my best, and I'll try to be there for anyone who talks to me, who is going through anything. And yeah, I love you guys. You are my world, and YouTube does get me through a lot because I have people who can listen. So I really appreciate you guys forever, but